That hoe just going. That hoe got a mind of its own, dog. Oh man. Of course, there's stuff on the screen now. Of course. A podcast focused on beating the hell out of your negative voice. Norris Odiase is this here fine host. Yes, I said Fine, fine, because if you got eyes and you can see me right now, you can see. This is your first time listening to the Mind Bully podcast. Was good, Wagwan. Thank you for listening to this episode. And if it isn't, hi again, friend, brother, sister. What's happening? Let's get into this episode. But first, like and subscribe, rate and review this podcast. It means the world to us. I'm so happy and excited to get into this episode because it's 1 a.m. and I've been thinking about this for a while. And the thing that I've been thinking about for a while is, and if it sounds like I'm whispering, like I said, it's 1 a.m. I don't hide anything. I am in my mommy and my daddy's house in Cedar Hill, Texas. And it's 1 a.m. and some people sleeping under me. So I'm a whisper. This is like a secret session. Anyways, the thing that I've been thinking about for a while is moving on. And when I say moving on, it might be from relationships, friendships, new stages in our lives that we want to get to, the vision that we have that's so big that we want to run into, but we're so stuck in the past. Maybe your past looks like a relationship that you keep thinking about, a romantic relationship, a friendship that triggers you whenever you see something related to a certain individual in your life. And even though you want more for your life, you're not really in control of your life. This episode is about that. It's about moving on. Because the more that you hold on to those things of the past, you are inherently or literally, whatever the words with the LLY at the end, I think it's one L North, LY, you're LYing in the past. From my personal experience, this is tough because as I think about my life, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, romantically, I was stuck in the past for about the first 2 years of this podcast. And my job here is to be open and honest. I don't care. It just is weird when you put out content online and you clip it up and sometimes you repurpose it because some people get it at different times and they start asking you about it. And I'm like, bro, I recorded that like a year ago. I put it out, like, relax, leave me alone. But the point that I've got to in that journey is obviously you're being used, do your thing and share it for you in your life. That thing that you're holding on to still, how do you break yourself away from it? Like when you get around friends and family, do they say, "Oh, where where that little girlfriend that you had 2 years ago?" Not knowing that they don't know your personal life, and you probably, right or wrong, been to like 2, 3 different relationships since then. But they ask about that one person in your head. You're like, "Shut up! Stop! Shut up!" As I'm like whisper screaming because again, I mean my daddy at my mommy's house. Anyways, it's always the weirdest situations because you almost have to explain yourself over and over and over and over again. No mom, no dad, no fam. Like it's over. Like for good. Like it's not happening again. It's over. And a lot of times that's us with experiences in our lives. Like we do that with ourselves. If we see ourselves going to a different level, a different stage, not even talking about relationships now, it's whether it's career and you see yourself at a different level, but there's a voice, there's something that wants to pull you back and pull you down. What do you have in place to come up against that? What do you have in place when that happens, when that voice comes, your mind believe? What do you have in place to fight that? Because if you're like me and you just looked at, I'm using Riverside right now to do this, and the wind in Cedar Hill, Texas is blowing, and I don't know if it's recording or not. When things outside of your control start happening, you start getting reminders of the past. For instance, I've had this thing shut down and end and close. So now the mind belief, as I'm speaking to you right now, is in my head like, bro, go off course, just stop, do this tomorrow. But I'm like, no, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep flowing regardless of the circumstance. The mechanism that I have is speaking back to that voice. Like, I don't care what it do. It's being internally recorded on the other side. So if the video don't work, what's happening? I got the voice and I'm speaking it out. What is your mechanism against that voice that's fighting after you, that's chasing you, that has you focused on where you're from and not focused on where you're going and who you are and what you can do because of who you already are and how you've grown from where you're from, but you can't see that. It's the greatest robbery of all time to not believe in yourself because you're stealing from yourself. You are stealing from yourself when you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe that you can grow into what you want to do. And it's so sad, man. I wrestle with ways of speaking about this because I never wanted to be like an armchair philosopher speaking from up top of the mountain, speaking down at people because that's not who I am. That's not my function and that's not my purpose here. But the idea that you think you're not good enough because of a challenge that you've ran into in your life that you're reminded of over and over and over and over and over, and no matter what you do and who you've become, you don't see that part of you. And when everybody tells you that you're doing great, that you've overcome, like you should be so proud of yourself, you, for some reason, don't believe them. Funny thing about that is sometimes it takes a stranger to say the same thing. I'm that stranger saying the same thing. You're allowed to give yourself grace. You're allowed to become someone that you don't even know yet. You're allowed to say yes. You're allowed to open that door and walk through it and leave all your past behind. When I started, I was speaking on relationships. And for me, that's the next level. I've already left the relationships that I've had in the past, but some part of me thinks that I haven't left their effect on me. Like, it's not about the individuals, the young ladies to be exact, but have I changed since then? Have I improved? And I know I have, but I haven't been tested. I haven't been in one. So have I? For you, what would it be like if you're in a relationship right now? Do you think that you'd be the same you? Or would you be hyper focused on what you wanted to change about you that it inherently made you a different person in a wrong way? For me, I talk about being the fixer. I talk about wanting to motivate and inspire through the macho. Let's do it. If you tell me you want to do something, even my friends today, if you tell me you want to do something, I will continue to ask about it because my function as a friend is never that, oh, let's feel good, feel friends. Yeah, no, hell no. in the dark room in your struggle time, you told me what you wanted to do, my boy. So let's get it. I don't because I know that's when you're real, when trials hit, circumstances come, and you're like, damn, I wish I could do this. I wish this person was with me. I wish I got bigger dreams. Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that standard. And so when I think about a relationship, I'm like, do I want to do that? Is that the right way to go? As I lick my lips, because I don't know if I'm looking a little ashy or crusty, but is that actually the way to be in a romantic relationship? For me as an athlete, as a black macho brother, all right, chill. As an athlete, you have that drive, that competitiveness, that hunger to be great at whatever you do. And I said this before, content creation honestly is almost like athletics. It's so self driven kind of motive. Like you have to, there's so much around it to be the best. And what is the best anyway? See, that's the part of me that I think about it. The best is subjective and the best is kind of external, because to be the best, oh, you're the best boyfriend ever, has to come from somebody else and it's validation. And I struggle with that. I struggle with that because I'm not looking for no validation. But as I put out this episode, it's like, I want somebody to like it. So do I? For you, do you? Whatever you do, if you are trying to change who you are or improve the steps that you fell down at in your last relationship, this person that you've become through your self work, is it just for validation? Is it just to get a partner? Is what I think about. And I know I jump all over the place. Obviously, I'm Lawrence, ADD, but this is who I am. I'm gonna come like that, and thank God that I've gotten to this place where I can speak regular on the mic. Because if you go to week one, day one of this podcast, ill, yikes, it was not it. But anyways, it's like you're not fooling yourself. The work that you put in is substantial, but if you haven't been in a relationship, if you haven't been put to that place again, if you haven't been tested, how do you know it will hold up? And sometimes that's some of the things that I think about, and maybe subconsciously I hold back from getting too close to a partner, a lady, because one, I don't even put myself in those situations. I'm like, oh, I'm a grinder, I'm a grinder, I'm a grinder. As my contact, I'm about to take out because it's dry as hell and I keep blinking like a damn fool. But I'm like, I'm a grinder, so I'm gonna stick it through. But like, I don't even put myself in those situations. And it's like, in my quiet time, I was gonna say personal moment, but bro, I'm always personal in here. In my quiet time, I always ask, one, I want to be a multimillionaire, not for me, because I know that God has placed things in me to get out. And I know that I need the resources to bless people, but it's not wait to that level to get the resources. I'm blessing people with my words right now and my hands. I'm giving money, I'm paying my tithe. Lord, you know my heart. But, whatever you desire of your heart, you ask him. I don't care about, oh, he asked for money. Yes. But because I have the privilege of knowing the kid, I ain't doing it for selfish endeavors. Anyways, because I think that's real practical change whenever you can pour into somebody monetarily. Because everybody, what's the main struggle in this life? Health, wealth, relationships. Wealth is one of them. Oh my God, I put my middle finger up. Health, wealth, relationship. And if you can speak and enrich and feed people with your words, that's health. If you can speak and enrich and feed people and build relationships, you also got to do the wealth part. So that's one of the things I think of and I pray for. But another one is my just and perfect wife. She out there and I pray over her. And I pray over her before I even met her. Because I don't believe in soulmates. I don't. And I was gonna say, I'm curious to know what you speak to me, but I don't know what soulmates is a hard thing because I think God placed so many people here on this earth, and if you find the right person in the right situation who's based off the same similar values, a person of high character, then you run with it. But my problem is I don't even put myself in those situations. Like if I go to a church, if I go to Shoreline City, which I watched from online today because I went to sleep at 3 a.m. editing old videos. But anyways, that's beside the fact. If I go after, I'm just going to the crib anyways. Like I'm not lingering around. That's always the hardest thing. Like how do you find if you're on the right time? Like if you're not out here outside, how do you find friendship, find relationship? It's a new year, and for me, my 20s at my parents' house, 28 to be exact for you newbies out there at the crib, because yeah, I'm privileged enough to have parents that love the kid, and it's always weird. Like I'm not finna explain myself to nobody, but for some context, in Nigerian households, parents of immigrants, not parents, children of immigrants, we stay as long as we want to, and I'm grateful. And sometimes the voice in my head would almost have to explain it to a young lady, like, hey, bro. I wouldn't say bro, but honestly, I should be because, first of all, you're my friend before romantic anyway. But I'd be like, hey, bro, I'm at the mama and daddy crib, this, that, and the third. Like, this is what it is. I don't explain myself, but it comes out in conversation. And honestly, I'm kind of, not kind of, see, am I kind of proud? Because I would have said I'm proud if I'm proud. I said kinda. Ain't no disclaimer. I'm proud. I'm proud of that because it gives you time to spend. And I've said this on here before, to spend with your family. But then as I think of it, do I? Because I'm up here grinding all the time, speaking to your ass. Long story short, I do think there's some challenges as a young male if you're watching this. And 2024, you put on your calendar or you put in your heart and you haven't told anybody that a relationship is something that you desire, I would say build your checklist and not on the attributes this person must have, no, on their foundation, the character, and how you feed into that person's life as well. It's a two-way street. It takes two to tango. And a lot of the times, I personally, it's weird, bro. See, that's the fixer coming out. I like, see, that's the thing. I talked about this before. That's toxic. And this is toxic, what I'm about to say. But I feel this, and is this wrong? I almost want someone to need me. And not need me. I don't want that, but like to, because I feel like as a speaker, as somebody that has a lot of passion, you're like, you want somebody to resonate with exact, like you want to feel that. Is that validation? Maybe that's validation. But I feel like everyone wants to be seen and heard and respected for who they are and what they say and the value that they bring. So I think that's valid. But for me, how do I go about finding that person while I'm doing all of this? I stuck a relationship so much because for this specific episode and this topic, that's the hang up for a lot of us. We have social media now. And as soon as we get on social media now, and the holidays just passed, you will see everybody that even thought about getting a little kiss from somebody else. You will see the person that you ain't never seen in 2 years post that they kind of got engaged or they heard they was getting engaged. You will see that come this time of the year. And soon enough, you will actually be there at their wedding. And you thinking, dang, this 2024 is my year for more, all of that. And the year's passed. The month has just started, but hopefully it ain't passed. And you're like, where mine at? And a lot of guys, we don't voice that. Women are more open, broad strokes here, but that's in my experience it is. But how do we give ourselves grace to grow and to look at life different, look at ourselves different, and allow ourselves the permission to grow into what's in front of us? I can't be stuck in the past and stuck in that fixer mentality and stuck in the grind, grind, go, go mentality that you miss the moments that you could be building onto that. 2024, there's a lot to discover in this year. And I know that with your intention to sit there and to write and to journal and to process the emotions that you go through, that you feel, that sometimes in the head you are trying to rationalize, but you can't shake the feeling that you have. The fact that you're starting, the fact that you chose to, one, listen to this episode, to two, surround yourself around people that pour into you, to three, to sit there and wrestle with your thoughts. The fact that you're starting that is everything. Because a lot of people don't even get to the point where they recognize that something's off until something happens. For leaders, for winners, for anyone that's going to accomplish or has ever accomplished something in their life, you know that it took an action, it took proactivity, it took an intention, it took a deliberate practice to get to where you did. The same thing with 2024, whether it's habits. I didn't want to make this episode about, oh, habits and habit tracking and steps, and because I feel like there's a lot of that and you can pick, and I will do that this year because that's something about this kind of niche, whether it's faith, whether it's self-improvement, personal development, use any little quota, whatever word that you want. It's new stories, new personal experiences, but same principles throughout, because principles test time. Principles are evergreen. You can say the same principles over and over and over, and they can apply to your life. And for this year in 2024, personally, this is all over the place, and stop saying disclaimers. Personally, my two words is thought partner. And I was telling a friend this: whenever I have an idea, whenever I have something that comes to my head, I usually plan, I write, I journal, I YouTube University it out. And if it's not clear, I don't voice it unless it's to you. But whether it's a business deal, I don't come to that next stage this year. Nope. Find a thought partner, dump it out. And a lot of times they'll give you what you never even thought about. For me, it's creatively with this podcast, with building something for Texas Tech, my alma mater, for building something with nonprofits for mental health and different organizations, from speaking. It's to get my idea out and to share that voice, because a lot of you have what it takes already, but you think you got to grow and you got to do more and you got to do more, but you don't see yourself how other people see you. This year is leaving that all in the past. It's moving into who you already are. It's to focus on what you can do for other people. It's to really recognize what God has already placed inside of you, to either build relationships, to build business, your career, to run in that vein, and just to be who you're called to be. This is an episode I promise that I'm going to put up because I have so many backlogged and I have so many interviews that I've scheduled ahead of time because last week I was like, I'm on a high, New Year, schedule, 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 and make no negotiations with yourself. I'm doing it no matter what the setup is. It's a different setup. And it took me like hours to do this, literally. That's why I'm doing this at like 1 a.m. I'm gonna go to the gym and then I'm gonna shoot an episode at 4 p.m. tomorrow. And it's gonna be how it's gonna be. But this year I want you to realize who you are already and what you can do already with what you have, and to not look back in the past and ruminate on what you could have done better, but to know there's more in store in 2024. If you like this episode, if you like anything that you've ever heard of Mindfully Podcast, as I lick my lips, please do me a favor, rate, review, subscribe now on the YouTube. It does so much to get this message out to more people. So, to the next one, peace and love. Bye. It's pretty good.